Welcome Facebook Live. This is the home team. I'm Dr. Raul Serrano here with my awesome and beautiful wife, Jessica. And we're excited. We love doing this. This is a time where we get to just share with you guys, the spiritual, the mental, the physical challenges of raising a healthy family. So we just love and appreciate you guys. We love the fact that you guys are sharing this. Guys, this is not just for us or even by us, for us. This is for you guys. So we ask that the only thing we ask you to do is to share this with your friends, share it with your families, and we can spread this message of health. So we're excited today because this is week 2 of revamping your family's nutrition, and today's the biggie. It's taking control of the sugar issue. So we're going to be taking control of the sugar issue today, but I'm going to first review what we did last week on the first week of this. We mentioned that about 2 years ago we took in our daughter Adriana, and she was 7 years old at the time. And her nutrition wasn't the best at the time. She was used to McDonald's, bad foods, the bad oils, the sugar. I mean, all the things that the typical child would be addicted to. So we wanted to share this because how do you transition? We understand that it's not easy. We understand it's difficult. So how do you make that transition? And last week we said it starts with the oils. You don't start with sugars. It starts with the oils and fats. And putting those good fats in there starts to give them the energy that they need to get through the day, so they're not crashing so much, so that they can start rebuilding the good hormone patterns in their body. So if you miss that, go back through the Facebook feeds and find week 1, and it was all about fats.
And really quick with that, actually just happened today. It's been awesome to teach these things because it gives us an opportunity to step back from our family and say, how can we get back on track with some of these? So of course last week was about fats. So we're at Whole Foods today. My kids love it. They have lots of free samples. We got some lunch in that bar line, and of course it comes up they wanting to try the veggie chips, and Aria just kind of looks at me and she goes, "Nope, bad oils." So it's just it's a struggle, but it's just something you keep talking about as a family and you work through it together.
Yeah, and so this week is sugar. And the reason this is such a huge issue is because sugar is one of the most detrimental things that our kids and ourselves can be consuming on a daily basis. So this isn't to say that your kids should be on a low carb diet. No way. What we're saying is that the added sugars have to be decreased. They have to be minimized as much as possible. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to ask you, when Adriana came to us, or even with our whole family, how do we start transitioning to decreasing the sugar and getting that out of our diets?
Sure, and it's one of the tougher things to do when it comes to nutrition, and I think it really just started with a mindset. Number one, as a mom, you can get overwhelmed with some of these decisions, and you just have to commit. You have to know that this is detrimental. You step forward, you step into it, and you say, "I'm making this change." So go at it with confidence. And the second thing was control what you can control. And what I can control as far as my family's nutrition is the home. Our kids are in preschool programs, are at school. There's birthday parties every other day. We get this stuff. Even at church service, your kids go to class and they're eating the goldfish and the birthday cupcakes. And you just kind of have to know, we allow our kids to do that sometimes. We do. We allow them to have those things as a snack, but because we know that we're controlling what's in our home to the best of our ability. When you look through our pantry, when you look through our refrigerator, there's not that temptation there, and the things that I'm making at home, I'm making sure are as clean as possible. So control what you can control, and that's going to be your home environment. Don't let the other stuff overwhelm you.
And I think that's the main tip. If you don't take anything, and we're going to go through some applications, so we have some products here that we use, and we're going to share that with you, but I think that's the main thing. It's control what you can control, right? Just like in life, there's certain things we can't control, but you can control certain aspects of that. And if you control that, the rest of it seems to take care of itself. So we don't have to feel guilty when we're at a party and the kids want a little bit of cake or a little bit of this. And to that point, well, let me ask you, so we're controlling the household. We know that we're going to control the household. So how do we start and then eliminating the stuff at home? How do we start that?
Right, so let's do two-step process. First, we have to remove some things, and then we had to add a lot of things. So removing would be all the added sugar. So there's pretty much anything that's in your pantry that would be sweet, like the cookies, all of that extra stuff. If it says any kind of sugar in the ingredients, we got rid of it. So what other things did we get rid of? We don't have sugar at our house. We don't have pre-made cake mixes. It just does not exist. We don't have ice cream, treats, none of it. So what that means is what I did have to add is some really great healthy recipes into my house, and I make most of our desserts or our treats. And what does that mean if I don't have sugar? How am I making things sweet? First is going to be the natural sweetness. So anything God made, we know that fruit, strawberries, all that stuff is sweet, but it's not something that man added sugar. It was already in the fruit itself. So berries, we do a lot of strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. Once in a while we'll do some bananas. We try to go for the lower glycemic fruits. So we do have a lot of fruits, and that's sweet. Another great thing that's natural sweetness that goes in a lot of my desserts is dates. And you'll also see a lot of those if you make like homemade bars. Dates is a great option for some sweetness. Instead of sugar, the number one sweetener that we use is stevia. So here's some kinds. You can get the bigger bags of stevia. This is a great one you can throw in your purse to add to your coffee. The thing with stevia is when you are making baked goods, as far as desserts, it doesn't cook as well, I've found. So I usually tell moms, if you take whatever amount of sugar was in the recipe originally, if you cut that in half and use half of that amount of stevia and then half something called xylitol. Xylitol is a sugar alcohol. So we also have some xylitol on hand. I don't use that a lot, but it is nice if I am baking something and I want it to cook correctly. And then I would say the other thing that we use least, stevia is probably my first go-to, but natural honey, local honeys, and maple syrup. And they used to say grade B, but I don't know if some of you realized, I was reading an article the other day, and they got rid of grade B. Grade B was the more robust flavor, darker maple syrup that we always recommended to people. Well, they took the grade B label off of there, and so now you're only gonna see grade A, but just look for that darker, pure maple syrup, none of that Aunt Jemima flavored stuff. So those are just some of the sweeteners that I use on a consistent basis. Yeah, so controlling the sugar issue, what we have to do, number one, is control what you can control. For us, that's our household. We committed that we're going to control everything in the household. Even like Easter, you know, our kids did the Easter egg hunts, and they got the candies, and they got it like everybody else, right? But how do we control our house? We said you get, what was it, 3 pieces? It was one this last Easter egg hunt, but yeah.
Yeah, it was. They got 1 piece to bring home, and that was it. That's how we can control the home. So at home, we just don't have the sugar, we don't have the bad stuff, the processed stuff, and that's how we can control it. So then at home, we started to taking the stuff away, the stuff that had added sugars, and we used some of the stuff you just saw here. And if you have a sweet tooth like we do, I mean, we're huge ice cream fanatics. I love chocolate. I eat it every day. We just found alternatives. So it's not that we cut out everything sweet for our kids because they would go crazy, but you just make those healthy sweet treats at home to have on hand, and it satisfies. So that little piece of dark chocolate, whatever it might be. Yeah, and it's quantities too, right? For example, you know, we don't not give our kids ice cream. You know, the other day they did a great job, and I wanted to take them out to get a treat. And unfortunately, right outside our neighborhood, they built a Culver's. So I told them, I know. So I said, hey, you know what, you guys want to go to Culver's and get a treat? And they're all jumping and yeah, okay. So we went. But this is the key. When we went to Culver's, they didn't each get a whole huge thing of ice creams. They literally, I ordered a mini ice cream. It's about this big, and I ordered 3 cups, and we all split it, and they were fine. They loved it. They got their ice cream, and so 4 of us ate a thing of ice cream, the mini ice cream from Culver's, and they all had plenty of ice cream, and they loved it. So the next thing is that I wanted to ask was, what as a mom, what's the hardest meals? What's the hardest thing when it comes to moms, and where to decrease the sugar in those meals? So this is, I
I think, pretty surprising, but I would say it's breakfast. And I just heard this actually in my Bible study that I do this morning, a mom talking about how many varieties of cereal there are in, even Whole Foods, and you're trying to pick out your cereal. So cereals are not something that we do in our house. And I think mornings are so tough for moms because it's breakfast, your kids are running off to school. You really want something super easy you can eat in the car, like been there, done that. My kids were addicted to gluten-free waffles for a long time. But really the breakfast, getting that sugar out, when you think about what's easiest, it's the Pop-Tarts, the waffles, the cereal with the milk, the bars, the Nutri-Grain bars, whatever it is, that's our go-to. So to really change breakfast,
Not our go-to, that's the typical go-to.
But yeah, I get it, it's easy. So with breakfast, if you can think of it as like your foundational meal. It's called breakfast for a reason. You're breaking your fast. So with your kids, they've been asleep for, 12 beautiful hours for all of us, right? So when they wake up in the morning, we want to make sure that first meal is their healthiest. It doesn't, I know a lot of people say eat a huge meal. It just means make sure it's something filling and it has all the nutrients they need for their day. So number one thing that we have every morning is the shake. We've talked about this a million times, but the shake is so great because you call it a milkshake. You can use your almond milk, your coconut milk. You can put unsweetened cocoa powder. You could put a frozen banana and some peanut butter, and it's going to taste like a chocolate peanut butter milkshake. And then, of course, I'm hiding and dumping all of those,
Vitamin
vitamins,
D3,
spinach, just whatever nutrients they're needing for their day.
And with that, we also put in there, I don't know if you mentioned that, a scoop of the protein. One scoop of protein is enough for all 3 kids. So they're getting their protein, they're getting their good fats, they're getting a low carb, or low sugar, I should say, huge breakfast. Another thing that we do for breakfast is the...
So kids are super hungry in the morning, and yes, we have our shake, and sometimes that's enough. But we usually do like the sprouted bread. We have a farm that delivers at the office, but it's like sprouted, naturally baked bread. We toast it, and they kind of choose their toppings. So it's either going to be that grass-fed butter that we have.
Grass-fed butter.
It's great. And then we have, they can do like an almond butter or a peanut butter. So it's that filling component that has the good healthy oils in it.
Going back to last week, it's getting those fats in there. Remember, for kids, when I talk about low carb, we don't want low carb for kids. What we want is low added sugars. So you put a huge piece of healthy sprouted grain on there. You then lather that with the best thing they like is the raw butter, and we put a bunch of butter on there so they're getting all this good fats, which is just huge for their brain health. And then or they can get like almond butter or peanut butter. So now they're getting the filling. They also add the shake with that, and this is how you can make an easy, quick breakfast that they're getting. It's nutrient dense, and you're winning the day already. You already started off on a good track, and you're stabilizing their insulin. Because what happens is, unfortunately, out there, a lot of parents, because it's easy, and we understand this, it's the cereals, the Pop-Tarts, the Nutri-Grain bars, that spikes their blood sugar, and when it starts to crash, this is when they lash out, they have uncontrollable fits, they can't focus, and then guess what? We have to feed them again, and typically the next meal is another sugar-loaded food, and this is how their hormones start to get off balance. So, guys, if you're liking this, please press the share. Give us some thumbs up, some hearts. We just want to give you guys practical stuff that you can use. So if you're on, say hi to us, and we can answer any questions you guys have as well. So any questions, anything else you want to add on as far as the sugars and controlling it?
No, I think we've covered most of it.
Thanks for the thumbs up. So last week, let's just recap. We talked about the healthy fats, and we have to put those healthy fats in there. It's essential to start with fats, because healthy fats is what rebuilds. It builds their brains. It gives them the energy they need so they don't crash. This week we talked about controlling your sugars, and we gave you a lot of tips on there. We see you, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. And then next week is proteins. We're going to talk about proteins, the healthiest proteins, how to get them into their nutrition, and where to go from there. So.
Oh, thank you for asking, Splenda.
Yes, Splenda. Alex, thanks for the question. Anything that's not natural, we're going to stay away from. So that's the Equal, Splenda. There's another one, the pink, the blue, and the yellow. You want to stay away from all of those. Those are toxic to the body because they're man-made. They're not God-made. The one we showed you here, the stevia. Stevia it's a plant, so it's God made, and it's just made into a packet. So you want to look for stuff like that. So we want to stay away from Splenda.
This would be probably the only packet, and they're carrying some of these at Starbucks and places like that. If you look for like the stevia, sometimes they have some monk fruit in there. That's really the only packet that you should be putting in your coffee.
Awesome.
Sure.
Hey guys, like always, we love doing these. Next week we'll talk about proteins in the kids nutrition plan, and ask any questions you have. Put any comments. Press the share button. Help us get this information out there. We will answer every comment, every question, and this is for you guys. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.